All right, we're gonna say the pledge.
No, I didn't do that one. That's one back today.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic one. All right, policy evenings meeting to order. First up, we have the consent agenda. Anybody on council have any questions? If not, is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
A second.
Sam,
Aye.
Ace, aye, Ekman,
Aye.
Shields,
Aye. Thank you. And I forgot to mention that we're working off an amended agenda. I'm getting closer to saying it before we start. All right, do we have any comments from the public on anything not on the agenda? Is this about one of the buildings?
Yep.
Okay.
Identify yourself and the
Yes,
address.
name and
please.
address, please.
My name is Wes Gerken. I live at 903 Edgewood. The only thing I was gonna question, which you guys may talk about this later on down the road. I'm sure you guys all got your evaluations for the lovely tax, increases
Oh
that
my
they're,
God.
they're fun. But I want to make sure that everyone is clear that where you guys stand on the mill levy. Because that's really the only thing you guys can control. You can control the evaluations of the appraisals and stuff. That's all on them, but. I just wanted to find out if you guys were gonna be lowering your mill levy to make it more revenue neutral. To where we don't get charged more tax on the city's part. Or how you guys have already, if you discussed that at all. Cause I know last time around. The revenue neutral was supposed to be like 37 mils, what the county asked, but you guys went over that because of budget stuff you guys needed and all. So I didn't know if that discussion has been had about going lower to make our taxes not go up.
We have not started budget discussions for this year yet. I know city staff probably already working on some. But
Okay,
we'll keep you in the loop.
just want to make sure that everyone understands that what needs to happen for our taxes not to go up is that the mill levy needs to go down. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Actually not. Okay, under new business, we have a couple of dangerous structures we need to go over. We'll start with 115 West Wea, and I understand there's someone here that would like to make a couple of comments. And just want to remind you guys, this is not the public hearing, so if a public hearing is set today, I would advise that you come back and give your comments again then.
Okay,
Maybe just a summary today and then more in-depth then if that happens.
All right, I have a couple of pictures I'd like to
Okay,
pass out. And our biggest concern is, I know you've got your procedure to go through and all that kind of stuff. But a wild guess, how much longer are we gonna have to wait for something to happen with that building? With 115?
we just have to set the public hearing next and we'll go from there, from what I understand. I don't think we can have any guests right now.
Okay,
I know we can't expedite it to go any quicker than we can. Because we have to go through the process, but
I understand that.
we'll do it in a timely manner as much as we can within the rules and regs that we have to do it in.
Okay. All right,
And if you don't mind sending your name and your
Carolyn Lasher,
address for the minutes.
who do I need to look at? 28310 Lone Star Road, Paola.
And you all own the building next door, correct?
Pardon?
You own the building next door?
Yes, to the east. Yes.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Carolyn,
Carolyn.
Carolyn, the public hearing we're hoping to set for May 9th
Okay.
So you would
at
come
6
back.
PM here.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Alan Hire, 15895 Lake Shore Drive. That shipment building's been a disaster for 25 years at least. I know Andy, the fire chief, tried to get it worked on. for years, and I don't know if Andy gave up or if he just gave up. But then Shipman got out of it. In 2019, there was a permit pulled. From a technical standpoint, and correct me if I'm wrong, the person that pulls the permit, the company that pulls the permit is a responsible party. That permit was pulled. We've talked with the permit holder. He said he didn't pull it, but looking at the records, one of their employees signed it that was authorized to sign, so much for that. But the permit was pulled. The person doing the work was Mr. Wright and his crews, however he got them assembled. And I guess what concerns me, one of the things is what happened when the permit time was up and the work was not completed and the permit was not reissued, nor was the contractor brought to task for not following his permit and the regulations. So once the permit was up, there was no insurance on that building. There was no insurance on the contractor. There was no insurance on anybody working on that building. So we've avoided that bullet. To my knowledge, nobody got hurt. Nothing's been done. But again, if a contractor pulls a permit, he has to stay with the project until he writes a letter that says it's not mine anymore. Then the individual that's working on the building, unless he has a Class B license, he can't work on the building. So there was some problems with the regulations in that process along the way. He kept getting additional time without a permit. There was a plan, but it was never followed. And 18 months ago, the building was vacated and nobody did anything for 18 months. So we all knew this was coming. I wish you guys would have started that procedure 18 months ago when it was apparent that Mr. Wright was walking away. Because we wouldn't be here today. Something would have been done with that building by now. But now we have a building with a caved in roof section on the single story section in the back. The floor in the back of the building where you could still see in the door a month ago at the alley is just a partial floor with planks laid around. So it's not even a floor, there's joists. So now you've got a building that's taking water. The water that comes down inside that building runs into Mr. Lasher's basement. Which that's its own problem. That's not his water. So it's just been a disaster for a long time. Where do we go from here? I understand the process, 60 days. But we need to determine, do we want one hole in the square or do we want 3 holes in the square? Because if that baby catches on fire, you now have 3 holes in the square. And that's not going to be pretty. And who knows what the inside of Crown's office would look like with $700,000 or $800,000 worth of smoke damage. So it's imperative that this thing gets handled quickly. And then we need to determine, do we want to tear it down, which is an expense, or do we want to repair it so that it's a salvageable building? And I don't know whose call that is, but the first thing that a person would think about is, well, we just razz it and be done with it. Well, that's got a problem because now you got a hole in the square. One of the things that's happened in the past when people tear buildings down is they don't take into account that wall that's there now is made of bricks and sand and lime mortar. It's not an outside wall. It was never meant to be an outside wall. So the building goes to the ground, and then everybody gets to argue over, wait a minute, you just took the building down that protected my wall. You, whoever took the building down, have to build me a new wall. Well, no, sir, I don't have to do that. That wall's there. Well, the wall is there, but it's not a protected wall. It's not a correct wall, and it would not be a correct wall today if you were building a building. So now we've got a wall that's not made to be on the outside, it's now on the outside, and they'll say, well, just stucco it. Well, that doesn't work because you got the thermal dynamics of a brick wall and the moisture that passes through it, and shortly thereafter, the stucco is popping off the wall. And now we got to deal with that again and again and again. And then that becomes a problem of the property owner that's the building next door. Because at this point, whoever fixed it is long gone, or made the attempt to fix it, so you gotta be concerned with how you deal with this wall that you have left. That's not the responsibility of the property owners on both sides. So I don't know that razzing the building is actually the best answer. It may be that you need to look real hard at stabilizing the building and getting a roof on it, so you've got an asset to do something with, as opposed to a vacant lot. But like I said, the easiest thing to do is you just go, we'll tear it down. But there's a lot of expense in tearing that building down and risk. So think real hard about how we want to proceed with this when you guys do get possession of the building. And that plan should start now, because I believe it's probably relatively 99% that you're gonna get it. Because I don't even know if there's been contact with Mr. Wright, other than cursory. So think about it long and hard. If anybody wants to talk to me, I'm available. They know where I'm at. And I'll be working with the Lashers to make sure this thing comes to a nice end when we get done. Thank you.
Alan.
So does that mean you're a buyer?
No, it does not.
Okay.
I'm liquidating.
But you know everything that needs to be done and you're involved, so I didn't know exactly
No.
if you were raising your hand or not.
No, Lee.
Okay, just, we ought to ask.
Yeah,
Somebody ought to
you can
ask.
get that through my wife, maybe, but
I don't think that, no, not me.
I'm only in this game today.
All right, man.
All right, anybody else? Okay. So. Do we have? Someone on the team, probably,
Yes, so,
and there's papers on our desks.
yes, so as an introduction, so as has been stated many times already, the process for a municipality to deem a structure, a removal or repair of a structure, is actually set out in state statute KSA 12-1750 with the process we have to follow. The first step is for the code enforcing officer, which is our building inspector Keith Myers, to submit in writing a report of the findings of the state of the building. And so you have all those on your desk, and Jessica will go over that in just a minute with you all. And the second is, if after reviewing the information provided, the council finds that it is dangerous, then a resolution is set to set a public hearing. And if that is set, I do encourage everyone that spoke today to come back to voice those concerns as well at the public hearing. After that, at the public hearing, after you hear from the owner of the building, if you hear from the owner of the building, after that is when we set a timeline for either repair or removal of the structure for them to follow. So, like I said, per KSA 12-1750, the enforcing officer is submitting their report for review. Jessica will go out to you right now, and then we can go over the next steps if deemed necessary.
And so in compliance with KSA 12-1752, Keith Myers, building inspector, recently inspected on March 10th of this year, 115 West Weah. Title search shows owners as Thomas Wright and Jennifer Wright. It's important to note the lien holder on this particular building is the Kansas Department of Revenue. In his opinion, the building is unsafe and dangerous due to the following reasons: collapsed roof, unstable walls shared by neighboring buildings, unstable floors, open entry points such as missing doors and windows. There are pictures attached that show these findings, and Keith Myers respectfully requests the governing body of the city of Paola pass a resolution fixing a time and place permitting the owner and any other interested parties in the after described land and real estate an opportunity to show cause why such structure should not be condemned and ordered repaired or demolished.
After reviewing the report, if the council does decide that this is deemed dangerous, per KSA 12-1752, the resolution was set the public hearing for May 9th at this location at 6 o'clock.
How does it affect us when there's a lien holder?
What's that?
How does it affect us when there's a lien holder on the property?
You're giving them notice.
You just give them notice.
You just give them notice. like the bank and a mortgage foreclosure.
Well, it says the lien holder is the Kansas Department of Revenue.
Mhm. So they'll just be notified like anybody else would.
Yes, we got all of their information from the title search, so we have it.
Does anyone have any questions?
Is there anything that could be done to make it a temporary fix? Like tarps or anything to help with the rainy season coming on between now and May 9th so that it's not causing more problems?
The problem with a tarp is I don't think you could probably pitch it in the right way where it would drain properly. It would probably create more of a weight. Or it would drain on probably right to Gary's basement, honestly. I think that might not be the best solution, a tarp, but I'm not an engineer, honestly, but that's just my
Well,
opinion that I would
I
get.
mean, construction and
Yeah, so that's what
background.
I would get from it.
It's also,
Yeah.
it's also not one flat road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not,
It's separate levels.
and it's not a small hole either.
No.
It's separate, but
So you can see on that first picture, this is one portion of the roof and the wall goes up and there's another roof up top. So
I just didn't know if there was anything that could be done conceivably just to keep it from getting worse during the rainy season till, because May 9th is quite a little distance away.
you know, we have done that work studies and before that all of us are concerned about the buildings next door. And we've had that discussion as well. And like Alan said, could we hurry it up? Well, we can by statute, but it's where it is, and we're moving as fast as we can by law.
Well, I understand that. Okay, I'm just looking at anything we could do to make it less painful.
Sure, sure.
Two questions. Could we put a sump pump down there that would kick on when, you know, like the rain's coming in, or just to kind of pump the water out so it doesn't flow into other buildings on each side? Is that possible, just to have permission to go in and do that temporarily?
I think the state of the buildings would probably be not safe to go in to install something.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
talking about that building or Gary's building?
Either, just to protect the surrounding buildings, just to get the waters from settling in there, you know, during the rainy season while we're waiting this process out.
I have not thought of that. I don't think that we can probably do a private person sump pump. I don't think that's in the question. I don't think the state of the building would be safe to allow for my employees to go into a property we don't own to do that.
So you need permission from the owners to be able to access.
We probably could do it if it poses immediate danger, but that would have to, I would like to get a professional opinion on if it's safe for even my employees to go in there and do that.
And then my second question would be, would we from the outside have permission to rope off like caution,
Yes.
tape, danger, you know, just to keep kids from entering,
We've done
or,
that before
you know, just to
Mhm.
kind of protect the property?
with a gate or a fence,
Yeah,
there's a fence or
like
something.
We can do that, we can fence it off. Or something, make sure it's secure.
It's,
Well, the front is
Yes, the front is secure.
taken care of.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's,
it's the back.
yeah,
if I could,
Yes.
on Keith's inspection, there was a door placed on that back opening.
thank you.
So we
Absolutely
can have
needed.
them follow up to make sure it's still there and then we can approach that if it's not.
Perfect. Say, because that was part of our first notification was to make sure it was secure. People can't get in.
I think Mrs. Lasher wanted to make a comment.
I'm not sure that that building has power in it.
oh, probably,
Yeah,
there's that.
I think that
Oh,
was.
something comes out.
We can run an extension cord from 408 South
No, I
Silver.
Don't.
They tried that.
That-
They did.
They weren't real happy when they got unplugged, but it was our electricity.
we're doing kind of what we can in the timely manner that we can do it. It's hard, but that's kind of where we're at. Yeah. If there are no other questions, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 2023-006, setting the public hearing to be held on May 9th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Paola Justice Center, 805 North Pearl Street, Paola, Kansas 66071.
I'll
Second that.
You got a whole bunch.
I got,
Yeah.
Smale,
Aye.
Hayes,
yeah.
Heckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now, 809 South Silver.
Yes, so, you will see that this memo is very similar to the last one because we have to follow the exact same state statutes. So for KSA 1750, the enforcing officer is submitting his report to you for 809 South Silver Street. Jessica will go over the things as well, and if it is found to be dangerous, we have a motion to set a public hearing for the exact same day, May 9th, 6 o'clock at this location to move forward.
So in compliance with KSA 12-1752, Keith Myers, Paola Building Inspector, inspected on 3/10/2023, 809 South Silver, owner shown as Tracy Peterson. In his opinion, the buildings on the property, there are multiple buildings, are unsafe and dangerous due to the following reasons. Electrical service does not appear to meet code. Brick is falling off the building. Windows have sharp edges due to being broken and allowing access to the building. Doors are broken, allowing access to the building. There's a hole in the exterior wall on the north side. Holes in the roof allowing weather entrance, deteriorating the garage bay and structure. Gutters falling. And the east side of one of the buildings is leaning towards the alley. And then the second building, also electrical service does not appear to meet code. Brick falling from the building and windows are broken. The pictures attached are for your reference. And Keith Myers respectfully requests that the governing body of the city of Paola pass a resolution fixing a time and place permitting the owner and other interested parties in the aforedescribed land and real estate an opportunity to show cause why such structure should not be condemned and ordered repaired or demolished.
Any questions on this one? Have we received any communication from the owner for this one? No.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-007, setting the public hearing to be held on May 9th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Paola Justice Center, 805 North Pearl, Kansas. Paola, Kansas, 66071.
I'll second.
Smale,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Heckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the dispatch service agreement for Miami County.
Yes, so. This is definitely with a heavy heart that we are presenting this tonight, and I just want everyone to know this was not an easy decision that is to be made, and I appreciate everyone for making this hard decision with us, so. Just for a brief introduction. In 2021, the city of Paola had 4 full-time dispatchers, 1 part-time and 1 full-time administrative assistant that could fill in as a dispatcher. As of 2023, you're currently operating with only 3 full-time dispatchers, and one of those is actually our dispatch supervisor, which is supposed to be taking some administrative duties, but is doing dispatching right now. So in January 2020, the full-time dispatching position was advertised on social media, multiple area newspapers. KPOA, which is the Kansas Peace Officer Association, and advertised at 2 job fairs. 2 applications were received from the job fairs, but no interviews were conducted due to disqualifying information on the applications. From the online presence, the job was viewed over 300 times, and out of those 300 times, we actually solicited 46 people to get applications if we thought that their background was adequate enough. Out of those 46 people, we received 12. Those 12 were offered interviews, but only 6 showed up for the interviews. Out of those 6, 4 were qualified to offer jobs, and ultimately all the jobs were either turned down or they did not reply to the second or for the job offers and ghosted us completely. So I do believe that we exhausted all possible options that we have had. Therefore, due to the inability to hire qualified applicants for the open dispatching positions, the decision has been made for the city to make a reduction in force and transfer to Miami County Sheriff's Office to dispatch for the city of Paola, starting May 1st of 2023. Myself and Eric, Chief Jenkins, sorry, unofficial Eric, we've been working with the county administrator Shane Kroll and Sheriff Frank Kelly on the transition. Due to the fact that transition will be taking place in the middle of a budget cycle, and the county has already set their budget for 2023. The agreement that you'll be approving is for the city to fund one dispatching position for Miami County in order to help with the services, the more services we're providing. The total is $66,671.47. And again, this is only for the remainder. The money is only for the remainder of the fiscal year 2023. Dispatching will be there indefinitely. Mr. Lee Tetweiler has worked and reviewed the dispatch service agreement as well. So throwing you out there.
Changed it significantly.
Significantly. We botched it, but it is good to go. So, that is all that I have. If you have any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
So we pay the 66 and some change this year.
Yeah.
Next year, they're budgeting up completely.
As far as I'm aware, that's how it's gonna go.
Better be.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we got some negotiation power.
Well, there's nothing in the agreement now that would require any further.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, when she says it's her understanding, it's more than that. I mean, there's nothing in there that would require you to pay another dime after this first year installment.
Okay.
And to back up, we've been through this for years. It's been under consideration, but Lewisburg's
Yes.
been doing it for years, right?
Yes,
Yes.
for as long as they've been, of course, Osawatomie for the past 2.
Right. So it's kind of been coming, I guess you'd say. I mean, Dave, as I know, but we fought it all this time.
Any questions on this?
Where it doesn't need my vote to pass, I'm gonna abstain.
All right. Is there a motion?
I move to execute the dispatch services agreement with Miami County in the form substantially presented and authorizing the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Snail,
Abstain.
Hayes,
Aye.
Peckman,
Aye.
Shields,
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed. And the abstention goes with the majority, correct?
yes.
All right. Conditional use permit ordinance number 3201.
So we have before us a conditional use permit that was recommended approval by the planning commission at their February meeting. They voted unanimously on this. It is for a single family attached residence at 508 West Shawnee. The applicant is Daniel McKickoo and Julie Bevy. As far as all setbacks, according to his plot plan he has submitted, all setbacks and off-street parking have been met. There is a current single-family house on the property that will be demolished, and this will be built back in its space, offering some new housing options in the area. There is under the issue, does the city council wish to accept the planning commission's recommendation and approve the conditional use permit? It should not say Paola Fire Station. It should say this 23-CUP014508 West Shawnee Street. I don't see why there would be a need for any additional conditions for the approval on it, and neither did the planning commission. There was one homeowner that had questions, but those were satisfied by the applicants.
Any other questions on this? If not, is there a motion?
I move to approve conditional use permit 23-CUP01, single family attached residence. That means a duplex in our terms. And in the NC-R2 district at 508 West Shawnee. And approve ordinance 3201.
I second.
Snail,
Aye.
Hayes, Peckman,
Aye.
Shields,
Aye.
Motion passed. All right. Moving on to Casey's number 4240 CMB license.
So Casey has requested a new CMB license for their location at 333 Hedge Circle, which is in the new TIF district. Being a new license, it is being presented as a separate item, not with the consent agenda. They have submitted all the required paperwork and their $75 fee. Once construction is completed, they will have to pass the fire safety inspection, so they wouldn't be able to get their license until that has been completed. Yeah, that's pretty much. They already have 2 other licenses, so they know all the requirements.
All right, any questions? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the CMB license for Casey's Retail Company located at 333 Hedge Circle, contingent on passing the fire safety inspection.
A second.
Smith,
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Beckman.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Motion passed, thank you. Next, 2023 liability and auto insurance renewal.
I did meet with Elliott Insurance, Jay Hester and Becky Hager. They presented a renewal with BNC Insurance, who we currently have, but it did show an 18% increase. We typically budget at a 10% increase. This is due to the increased property values and building supply costs. So the commercial auto had a slight increase, but it was very significant. Staff was able to review the properties and determine some of the things that could be adjusted. Kirk out Public Works had a couple of the coverall buildings we were able to remove. They're not going to be replaced at the value that they were insured for. The old water treatment plant had a shed we were able to remove, so that will cut that down. But we are also going to have to add the new ball fields, so that hopefully will just even that out. Last year, the auto renewal, we were able to change some of the deductibles to lower that. So that's still reflected in this policy. We did have $176,300 budgeted, and this renewal came in at $197,294. So we are 20,000, almost 21,000 over budget if we go with this renewal. They did have an option to increase the deductible for wind hail damage to $25,000, which would save us around $18,000 on our premium. That would cover, so the $25,000 is per occurrence, not per building. So one event with that $25,000 would cover all of the building. And so that would lower us pretty close to where our budgeted amount is if you choose to go with that, which, yeah, we can cover that if that were to come up. So there's that.
Well, and it's just kind of what we were talking about, the valuations are higher, so it's gonna be more expensive to replace.
Yeah. And our brick buildings are just, yeah,
Astronomically expensive.
Mhm.
we have
Yeah. Anybody have any questions on that? It kind of just is with this. Yep. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the insurance renewal provided by EMC Insurance Companies through Elliott Insurance Group in the amount of $179,299 for the coverage year of April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024.
I'll second.
Sam,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Beckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Motion passed, thank you. Next, the half-cent sales tax allocation. This is a resolution.
Yeah, so this is just to make our funds clear, to put the money where it needs to go and be able to track it. We had previously determined when we were going through all the process that we needed to put away the $2 million for the maintenance of the pool. So that will put 12,500 into the pool reserve fund. The other, the 60,000 will go in to pay a $10 million bond payments. And then the remaining, if there is any, will go into the street CIP as it did with our last renewing sales tax. So this is just to make it clear, and anytime we can adjust this if we find it necessary, but it should.
Yeah, if we had and I don't think we will, excess. I'd kind of like to see it bring those bonds down.
Yeah, we could, when I gave you that sheet, there were a couple of years, I think it got close. I think there were about 70 or $80,000 left over from a payment. So
Yeah.
we definitely want to make sure to get the end, but I think overall, we're gonna have about $600,000
We
remaining.
can look at that.
Yep.
again.
Yeah. Are we gonna set aside, money for the end of life of the turf in 10 to 12 years?
That'll be part of the budgeting process. We'll go through the entire budgeting process for all of the,
Money?
yes,
Okay.
we go through the budgeting process. We already have notes on that. Don't worry.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-008 to allocate the special 1/2 sales tax money to appropriate fund for future accounting purposes.
I'll second.
Smale,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Beckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. Next, numbering correction. We already passed the ordinance. We just need to correct the number now, right?
Yeah.
You're not raising it.
I was so worried about messing up the bond thing. I just used the same number, but easy fix is to just renumber one of the ordinances, which would be the water ordinance. So we will republish it as ordinance number 3199 and just. go on
Same
with
exact
that.
thing, just.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So that's all that is.
is there a motion for changing? the-
I move to adopt ordinance 3199, replacing the water rate ordinance number 3198 that became effective January 31st, 2023.
I'll second it.
Smale,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Beckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
All right, motion passed, thank you. Next, we have Wick Sports. Getting some land back,
Yes.
correct?
So, if you remember, on December 8th of 2020, the Paola City Council approved a land purchase agreement with Sports LLC for Track 3 Sale Industrial Park. Unfortunately, they decided to go elsewhere, so they deeded the land back, on August 18th, 2022. The problem with that is that we still had to, apply for the tax exempt status from Miami County, and we did that on August 23rd. But it had to go to the Board of Tax Appeals, so it took some time to get that back. In between that time, Wick Sports did pay all of their taxes that they needed to, and we got our tax exempt, so everything is back to zero. So, we wanted to wait to have all that back before we approved it to get it back, so.
All right. Any questions, comments on this? Pretty simple. If not, is there a motion?
I move to accept track 3 of the Paola Industrial Park to be deeded to the city of Paola by Wick Sports LLC.
Second.
Smale.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Beckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Motion passed, thank you. Next, traffic control device schedule update.
Yeah, we had some handicap signs and some loading dock signs that were not included in the schedule in front of the senior center. And then we have one loading dock that is in the schedule in front of Crown that's not there. So we're just gonna take it out and add those in front of the senior center. Just to get things correct.
Any questions on that? If not, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution 2023-009, amending the traffic control device schedule for the city of Paola.
Second.
Smale,
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Beckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passed. And next, we talked pretty extensively last night about the false fire alarm ordinance number 3200. And thank you for clarifying the 6-month
Yeah, so we'll just jump right to that.
Yeah.
In the proposed ordinance, at C1, we did put a property must go 6 months without a false alarm after the last reported false alarm before the 6-month period and can restart. So that way to clarify, it's not when the continual 6 months goes on. So that was the clarification. So, yes, the one that was presented at work study from the Northwest Consolidated Fire District is the one that we have proposed and modified and presenting to you tonight as ordinance 3200. Just a little brief background for anyone that's going to be listening in. Just want to do that real quick. The city of Paola does not currently have a false alarm policy. Therefore, there's no limit to the number of false alarms that one business or organization can make without any repercussions to the owner. So the city is out all of that money we pay per call, and we pay $35 per volunteer per call. So from just 2 entities, the city has had to pay a total of $17,745 combined for just 2 organizations alone. So like I said, the fire chief got examples from Olathe, Lenexa, Shawnee, and Northwest Consolidated Fire District. We have modified that one to give you the proposed ordinance. It has 2 steps that the Paola Fire Department can make for businesses that are having multiple false alarms. The first one is to impose a fire watch, which means an approved person or persons provided by the facility assigned to the premise to protect the occupants from fire or similar emergencies. If a fire watch involves any of the Paola Fire Department staff, those costs would be billed to the property owner as well. The second step would be for a fee to be charged to the property owner for multiple fire alarms. We are given the grace period of 3 calls before they are feed. The 4th, they will be feed $125. The 5th, it is $175, and the 6th, and each one after that is $225. And it has to be within a 6-month period. And like I already said, the 6-month period restarts if you go 6 months after the most recent recorded false alarm call.
And that 17,000 and is just wages.
That is just what we pay.
Not
the
fuel,
volunteers,
not
not
anything
fuel,
else.
anything. That's just what we pay per call. Yes.
This is my favorite. I love this one.
So, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
When does this go into effect?
As soon as it's published.
Where's your favorite? I think you should make the motion.
Okay. I move to adopt ordinance 3200 establishing a false fire alarm policy for the city of Paola.
I'll second.
Smale,
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Heckman,
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Motion passed, thank you. Next, the Paola Family Pool Mechanical Bid Summary.
Yes, so as we have previously discussed, there was some options to do a few improvements before the 2023 swim season and all the major improvements after. This is for the improvements that would happen before the swim season, obviously. They include the media exchange, which is the sand from the filters that would be sucked out and replaced. Water chemistry controller, chemical storage room, and chemical storage tanks, which is a really big safety problem we need to address. Ventilation fans and a digital flow meter with displays. So WTI is who was partnered with Landwork Studios when we selected the consultants back in October. They went out and got 3 bids, only 2 replied, seems to be the theme lately. So they got Westport Pools for that scope that we just went over for $63,695, and Continental Pool for $63,983. Doug with WTI did great, and he gave a summary to provide us with, summarizing all of the work and the scope of works that were bidded and that who he recommended that we select. And Water Technologies recommends selecting Westport Pools to accomplish this work. He was actually surprised at how close the bids were as well. I was too, because you don't usually see that $300 apart. So he obviously went the lowest bidder. So he did want to note that for this scope of work that we had prioritized, they gave us estimates, and we were within the $65,000 estimate that was proposed for that work. It kind of shuffled around between each one, but it was still within what we proposed. So we're excited about that. Because I don't know if that'll be, you know, for everything, because everything comes up, so.
I had someone ask me again today, if it's gonna be open this summer, so
Yes.
I think people will be relieved when it's actually open. All right, any questions on this? If not, is there a motion?
I move to accept the bid from Westport Pools in the amount of $63,695 for the Paola family pool mechanical room upgrade.
A second.
Snail,
Aye.
Case,
Aye.
Hickman,
Aye.
Shield,
Aye.
All right, motion approved, thank you. And the 2023 street program.
Yeah, this is, the projects that I got bids on that we talked about at work study. I had 4 bids for the asphalt milling and stuff, one for the crack sealing. I'm gonna crack seal rockwood to try to keep it from getting any further deteriorated, the whole subdivision. He's bid in as doing with 6 pallets of, crack seal material. If it does come in less, the price will be a little bit less than that. And then, on the asphalt, there's maps on the back there too, kind of shows the location, there's some patching, deep patching and overlaying out the lake. And then there's several streets in town that we're gonna do the mill and overlay on. Kellogg was low bid on that. They were all fairly close, but I did have 4 bids. Barclay is a new company that reached out to me, so I had him bid it, he ended up being high. McEnany did the work last year. They were next to the highest one, but Kellogg's always been good to work with. I really like working with them. They're fairly local, they're out of Iowa, so
We've worked with them probably more than
Yeah.
anybody.
really we have. They did the Baptiste extension on the west end there too, and also.
Kurt, how did this pricing compare?
It was up higher than what I had estimated from, I go into this looking at last year's prices, because that's all I got to go off of. And I think it was about $40,000 higher than what I had figured. Now, some of that work is in Overhill, complete tear out and all. I just had to kind of throw some numbers at that, because I didn't have any idea what that was, and they were a little bit higher than what I had. That was some of it, but all of it, because just oil prices for asphalt is so volatile. And
It is horrible, yeah.
I do like this breakdown that you give us, because sometimes people will, when they see the street work starting, they'll ask it. So it's nice to have it, so they don't have to call you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite number to give out.
All right. Well, I think, once again, you do a good job with what we have to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I went out there to the lake and started marking out, I drove it, so I thought, this won't be too bad, but when I stopped and started marking it. Where are you starting?
Anybody have any questions? If not, is there a motion?
Sure. I move to approve the quote from Complete Pavement Maintenance Incorporated in the amount of $28,000 for crack sealing. And the quote from Kilo Construction in the amount of $391,938.49 for asphalt mill and overlay.
Second.
Snail,
Aye.
Case,
Aye.
Hickman,
Aye.
Shield,
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, staff reports. I'm surprised you're here.
I am too.
We thought there was gonna be a chill
Delayed
lane.
life.
Now,
Yep, there, you're up.
Randy asked me this morning when I was in the airport in San Francisco if I was gonna be home tonight, and I said, well, I could be. So here I am, but she asked me, and we've talked about this, because it seems like we go years at a time. And then I come and we have this big discussion about city manager's position and city manager's obligations and council members' position and your obligations and how they mix. And obviously, I didn't know I was gonna do this, so And it's probably old hat to everybody except you, probably.
Probably.
So I'm not gonna go into great detail tonight because I'm not aware of any current hoodoos or problems. How this has come up over the years is you get a new city manager that's gonna try to do things different that the council doesn't like, and then there's who's really in charge of this or who's in charge of that. Or vice versa, you have new council people that want to come in and I represent school district too, and we've had some great examples, and I'm not gonna name names, but you know, some new council people, school board members want to come in and tell somebody who hires the new janitor, or, you know, discipline this guy, or do this, you know, you do that. So moving right along, coming back to the city, you guys hire the city manager. City manager does your bidding, implements the policies that you adopt. You're up here, in this case, it's a she's down here. You make these big decisions and then she has to implement them. And to cut to the chase, if you don't like the way she's doing it, I mean, that's in her evaluation, you hire and fire her, and that's what she has to live with. But there's not supposed to be a lot of interference. That's why you hire her. And I know everybody but you've heard this, and it's kind of a silly story, but years ago, I had to get up and tell that council that you can't tell the city manager what type of pens and pencils to order. I mean, it had degenerated to that level. I mean, that isn't your job. So keep that in mind, and you can't tell her what janitors to hire and fire either. I mean, personnel is her. Policy is you. And then I always try to close with this and remind everybody, because it's really a sticky wicket, both city and the school district. You're my client. The city council is my client, not the city manager, but the city manager hires and fires the city attorney. So it's kind of an awkward position, and has been at times over the years, but it is what it is. But and I always tell the council, I am your client. You should feel free to call me. You don't have to ask the city manager to ask me questions, for heaven's sakes. I mean, I've been here 40 years. I mean, I think you know where I am and how to get a hold of me, but that's really not my attorney-client relationship. Is not with the city manager. It's with you guys. So does that cover it?
Thank you.
Okay.
I think it's
Lee, at the same time, we can't as individuals go to the sewer department and tell them how to do.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Well,
That's-
yeah, no,
Take that to her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
if you have an issue with the sewer department, you let Randy handle the sewer department.
Thank her. We do.
Well, and you know, and Kirk's sitting there, so that's another example. You don't go out and tell Kirk what to do. You really don't. That's not your job.
Yeah, it's just not fair to the department heads.
No.
They only have to answer to the city manager. They don't have to answer to us.
Well, and the other 20 or 5,600 people in town, but
Yeah,
if we could at least keep 4 more from finding all of this.
Well, they all pay your salary.
Yeah.
We used to hear that one all the time.
well, I think on that note, it's, if you have an issue with, I'll say, fire, just to change it up. You can talk to Randy, maybe before the meeting, not like right in the middle of, just to keep it professional, yeah.
And the other thing that I always talk about, she reminded me, subject that's near and dear to my heart is keeping you guys out of trouble. And executive sessions over the last 40 years is where a lot of cities, a lot of school boards, governmental entities have gotten in trouble. I even represent the school district down in Garnett. The Kansas Attorney General got after them. So, I mean, I know this staff does, and I help them diligently try to protect you guys and do it right. And the state legislature even changed the law a couple of years ago, and we kind of had to revamp the wording that we use to go into executive session for certain things. And I don't have many problems with that. Staff's doing it. What I have a problem with, have had over the years, not right now. City council members that receive confidential information from me in executive session legally to prevent you from being sued or losing the lawsuit that we're already in, go to the drugstore and tell everybody the next morning what Lee said, or, oh, we're in real trouble in that lawsuit. They go, I mean, I can't even believe some of the things that have happened. So all I can do is ask you to respect that attorney-client privilege, because, you know, if you go out and say something, then the attorneys on the other side can force you to come to court and say what you said at the drugstore or at some club meeting or something. I mean, and I always use poor my wife Mary as an example. When we first got married, well, how was work? What'd you do? How was city council? Well, I can't tell you. Well, you know, for a young married couple, that was kind of a pissy thing to say. I mean, she really didn't like it very much. But, you know, it just take a little getting used to it. You gotta be able to go home and do that. I can't tell you. Not this stuff, not this public session stuff, but when we go in there and talk about lawsuits or threatened lawsuits, it's real. And so I have to tell you those things because apparently over the years, not every council member has known that or didn't want to apply with that.
And even
So-
if someone on city staff is not in that meeting, then we don't share with them either,
Absolutely not. It's you and me.
whoever's in the room. only.
Yeah. There's ways to handle some of those things, but it's so that you don't say something publicly that hurts me and the city in pending litigation or gets us sued. You know,
I think it's good to have a refresher every year. Just for
well,
that.
yeah, and again, it could easily be my fault, because after all, you take it for granted, council people come and go, some of you been here longer than others, but yeah, maybe it doesn't hurt, you know, the first of the year, every year, but
First got away from you, sorry. Way to do in January, that ship sailed, so.
But, and I've told them, because they're all relatively new at City Hall, I mean, I have the city attorney, I mean, that's what I'm here for, use me, I mean, I'm your client, if you have questions, call me. Don't bug, I mean, you know, and I bet I can count on one hand, maybe two hands in 37 years, the number of councilmen that have ever called me, although I always encourage you to do it. So I'm your attorney. You do with that as you may, I guess.
Only if you're in town.
Well, I can't.
He has it. He's side of the mountain. I will give him that, so.
I can be reached. That's my new mantra. Thank goodness for the cell phones.
I think we talked last year once. I was at, remember Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania? It's a tourist destination now, by the way, not actually. But I was standing in the middle of it and I'm like, oh, this is a new level. All right, thank you, Lee.
But the good, probably, I should say the good news, as far as I know, there is no pending litigation, no threatened litigation. I mean, so
Dance
That-
number.
that's the way we like it.
Well, I think sometimes being in a small town, it's hard to remember what our roles are. Because I see Kirk outside of different things and it would be easy for me to say something that may not.
It's very easy.
Well, you're getting used to it.
That doesn't mean we can't talk to them.
No, no,
Or bring cookies out.
yeah. I know. That's all that- Yeah. Tell him how to do his job, let Randy tell him.
And that was, I guarantee you,
Who was it?
that was,
Oh,
that was a very broad brush overview. I mean, I didn't get into quorums, I didn't get into change, you can't get on the phone and have a quorum on the phone, there's all. People have gotten in trouble for things they wouldn't even think were gonna get them in trouble for, but they have. Just like three of you get on the phone and talk about city business, you can't do that.
Yeah. Did you read this morning's paper about Point Lewis? went after two people on the board that said that, he said that they met and violated the meeting rules, the quorum rules.
Where was that?
Kansas City, Kansas.
Mayor Lewis,
Oh,
Clinton Lewis.
No.
Clinton Lewis,
Yeah. But that, it goes on all the time. And when people are fussing or different political parties or whatever, they're just looking for something to get you.
Well, and you don't even have to have three people talking all at the same time. She can
No,
call her, she can call her.
that's what
And it's
see,
considered.
and I didn't get into all that. That's what they call a chain. And then they've even deemed that to be a violation.
Or putting reply all.
Yeah.
Reply all. Don't reply all.
Yeah.
If you don't want it seen, don't email.
I'm not better at blind copying everybody, so you can't reply all, so I got better at that.
And if you go in on one subject, you can't go in there and say, oh, while we're in here, I want to talk about this one. Can't do that either. I mean,
I do
if
that.
you want a real detailed presentation, I can give you one of those, but on short notice, since I was on the airplane all day, this is what I thought I could do.
Great.
Basic, just reminder.
I will say that every executive session that I've been a part of in my short stint so far, you have always prefaced with, remember, this day's right. I mean, you've represented that, and confidentiality, just working for the school all these years.
Sure.
It's huge.
It is.
We have to pretend like this is our children and not, you just don't,
Mhm.
you can't.
It's important.
And you've got to admit, it's human nature to talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Particularly when it's the people in the public know a little bit about it, you know, and you hear them talking and you inadvertently just, oh, that's not exactly right. I mean, then they go, oh, how do you know that? Well, you know, then you're stuck. So you just
Yeah.
can't say anything. That's the only way to do it.
Yep.
Most times it's better just to say. I'm not gonna
Yes.
at all.
One more time, but if you have questions, call me. You're my client, not staff. So.
Thank you, Lee. Kirk, do you have anything?
I just heard, well, I've got a, back at Annie, wanting me to call them about some asphalt out there at Prairie Field Crossing, so John, my water guys, has been doing some inspections, so they're looking to asphalt next week, hopefully, when the country water line will part again today, so I don't know where they're at for sure, but maybe it's getting close to some asphalt out there.
McEnany.
Was Evergy putting up new poles the other day?
They've
What were they
been-
doing?
They've been trying to get some electricity in there, yes.
Okay, I thought so.
And we've got a bunch of signs ordered to replace a bunch of the signs with Howard electric signs too, that we got several of. And this same guy that's doing the crack sealing, he bids signs too, and he saved us $1,700 on some signs.
That's good.
That's,
he's local too.
yeah. That's pretty good. That's about all I got.
All right, Jessica?
We have planning commission next Tuesday,
What?
planning commission next Tuesday. So.
And that's gonna be.
Be a live
Big
one.
one,
Yeah,
because we've
so
got
if you want
letters.
to join us, you're more than welcome.
Join the party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing, Randy?
So staff and I had a meeting with our pool consultant today about phase 2, which is what's happening after the 2023 swim season. We just went over some possible amenities and the bathroom and entry updates. We had Miss Sherry Ball there. She was real excited, real involved. So I was really happy she was there because being the manager for 20 years, she has a lot of insight on what is used and what needs to be updated. So that was very helpful, honestly, to have her there. So we're excited. We'll be meeting again in April to go over the preliminary plans that they'll have for us after the information they got from us today. So. And then just wanted to reiterate all of the open positions we have for us at the city of Paola. If anyone wants a part-time job, we still have full-time public works open. We have seasonal public works open. We have one police officer open. We did hire one last week, by the way. We have utility billing clerk that just opened last week. We still have lifeguard and concession stands, and we have referees for the
Oh, yeah.
rec. So if you know anyone that would like a job, we have plenty to offer. So please send them our way.
Good variety.
Tell Wes to get busy.
Yeah, he's doing work. That poor guy.
Are they still planning on putting up some kind of board or something this summer? Like a preview? Are they
Yeah.
still talking about doing that? Good.
Yeah, renderings for what to come.
Yeah,
Yes.
good.
Where?
at the pool.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go in, they can see what's coming next year.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Dave, do you have anything?
Not tonight.
Debbie?
I was hoping for my student and teacher to be here tonight for the Jefferson Highway. We discussed at school that maybe April would be better because of spring break, the teacher was gonna be in Colorado. And the student didn't wanna come by herself, and I wasn't gonna leave my chair to go do both. So they will be here next month. She's real excited getting her presentation ready.
What's the Jefferson Highway?
The Jefferson Highway is actually older than Route 66. It's the first thoroughfare, if you, for lack of better terms, that join Pines to the Palms is what it's also referred to. That connected little highway or little towns between north and south. It started in Canada and went to New Orleans, I believe. And so we studied it in history, but there is no Jefferson Highway marking in Miami County. And Jefferson Highway, if you pull it up on the map, if you Google search it, it's really interesting, but it jogs all the way through Paola. And so I have a student who was super excited about it and asked if she could spearhead getting a Jefferson Highway marking someplace in Paola. And the highway actually goes around our middle school. That's the old highway was one of the routes, and it also goes right by my house. And so she's pretty excited to,
Get the the Kansas State Historical Society.
yeah,
Maybe they could put signs up.
it would be really exciting. I think the newspaper would be excited to, do a little press release about her, and it's literally just a J and an H, and we would just get a template from the commission and paint it with blue and white paint on a telephone pole, because that's all they did, and that's what they're still doing. And so it'd be kind of neat for Paola to get on the map.
That's cool.
Kathy?
Nope.
Leanne? No. Okay. The only thing I have is a new planning commission appointment. We had one planning commissioner step down, or yes.
Who
So,
stepped down?
John?
John Scott.
Yeah, John Scott.
And she was gonna be here tonight, but she had a prayer commitment, so.
And this is the same, Jenna's the one that filed for Debbie's seat also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys have, I think she'll be a good fit. So if you guys, if someone wants to make that motion, if you approve.
I move to approve the appointment of Jenna Dees to the Paola Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Mail,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Beckman,
Aye.
Sheila.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That's all I have. So, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I do. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mail, Dave.
Aye.
Beckman.
Aye.